Welcome to session 9, which is on securing India's energy future amidst geopolitical conflict. I have the pleasure and privilege to welcome Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, the Honorable Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Puri, you have been a big supporter for PAFI over the years, and which is something which we value tremendously. I've also had the privilege of knowing him for over 20 years. I remember landing in Geneva 20 years back when you were then the permanent representative in Geneva. And since then, I've always realized that you've always been a friend for industry and for PAFI over the last so many years. You've ensured that your advice helps us in terms of ensuring that we have the right advice on most of the areas which we do. Today's subject on securing India's energy future is something which is topical, and we can't have anyone better than Navika to moderate this session. So over to you, Navika, for this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishwanathan. Things change when people move on from being journalists to other things. And such camaraderie between journalists, I think these days doesn't exist. It's the old school, like us, where the camaraderie still stays alive and kicking. But thank you very much. And it's my pleasure and it's my honor to host this session with the Union Minister for Petroleum, Energy, and I must share with you that Vishwanathan said he knows him for 20 years. Anybody who knows him knows that energy is something that he's full of. And it's always a pleasure to speak with him and Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. I want to ask you, we're living in times, you've been a diplomat before, you're a very, very senior minister in the Prime Minister's team. How do you wake up every morning with some trepidation कि आज social media में what's going to happen on geopolitics? You know what I'm talking about. Do you sweat every morning before you pick up your phone on what it may have in terms of a message?
First of all, thank you very much, Navika, for doing this session with me. One request. Please don't refer to my association with diplomacy in the past tense.
Pardon me.
I think no matter what job I do, housing and urban affairs, civil aviation, etc., but I think retaining a firm anchoring in the world of careful use of language and diplomacy helps out. No, I don't get up in the morning sweating and fretting about what is going to happen to me the next day. The reason for that is quite simple. One, my getting up in the morning and the degree of freshness depends not about the world energy markets, but what I've been doing the previous evening. And I mean that seriously, don't take it amiss, because if I've been traveling and I've got 2.5 hours of sleep, there may be an issue. But let me, for the sake of starting this conversation, you asked me whether I wanted to make any opening remarks. I said, no, I'd rather spend the time responding to your questions. First and foremost, there is no energy shortage in the world, period. There was, prior to this entire global uncertainty, a group of countries which describes, or rather who are described as OPEC plus, chose for reasons which are well known to cut back 5 million barrels a day from the global production and hence making available. Now, even after they cut that amount, there was an expectation that prices would go up. The prices didn't go up. Why? Because there's more and more energy coming on the global market, including from the Western Hemisphere. Now, anyone who is associated with the petroleum and natural gas ministry in India should, with a degree of humility, acknowledge that we have, 67 million people going to the retail outlets every day to fill up different kinds of gas, petrol, petroleum, diesel, compressed natural gas, etc. Prices should be affordable. In India, they've come down over the last 3 years. There's never been any shortage anywhere. But that doesn't mean that there is no... You use the word global conflict in the title of this session. I would say global uncertainty. Because fortunately for us in India and the rest of the world, that conflict has not taken place in the sense of an outright breakout of hostilities. I know there have been theaters of uncertainty, there have been theaters of war, I could even say. I mean, closer home in the Middle East, what happened in Gaza, Russia, Ukraine, attacks of piracy in the Red Sea or elsewhere. Yes, there's been uncertainty, but I think the global situation today is characterized, if I may say so, by a certain desire to keep that tension within manageable levels and not allow outright hostilities to break. I'm not a soothsayer, but if you were to ask me the question, do you think things are going to get more serious? You never know, but I hope not. And I'm an eternal optimist. So I get up in the morning saying, I've got a very, very mature and far-sighted statesman as my boss. His mind is not wired to face the pressure. Consequently, my mind is not wired to face the pressure. So I get up reasonably relaxed every morning, confident in the knowledge that no matter what happens on the global stage, we will be able to navigate our way with resilience. So I apologize for this very long-winded answer to your first question, but I thought once I get this out, now you can take any pot shots you like.
Well, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, I always knew you were a man who would pick up on any opportunity and that came your way, and you did. But let me ask you, as a country in a very tricky, world political strategic space, are we in a good place in terms of our economy, in terms, you mentioned the political infrastructure, which you've rooted as the best in the world, but as far as our economy is concerned, as far as other challenges within India are concerned, are we in a good place?
No, I think knowing you as I did, since you all claim to know me for many decades, this young man and I were in Geneva together. You and I have fought many battles, some on the same side, some intellectually from different vantage points, but I regard you as a friend. I think your question is an absolutely appropriate one. In the last 11 years, we have gone, Navika ji, from being the 11th or 10th position in the global ranking to being the 4th largest economy. We've gone from a $2 trillion economy to a $4.3 trillion economy. We are growing, and I'm going by statistics, last quarter 7.8%, which is the first quarter of this financial year. Quarter before that, 7.4%, which was the last quarter of the last financial year. I always take the assessments of those guys who are not, let's say, whose job is not to boost our assessments, but to sober them. No matter whom you look at in terms of reliability quotient, whether it's the bank, fund, the International Energy Agency, anyone you look at, they're all saying you will grow at more than 6.5% or so in this fiscal year and next one also. If that happens, and S&P just upgraded your outlook after a gap of 18 years, if you look at what else is happening in the world, I think the economy is doing not just well, it is doing very well if you compare it to others. Who are the others? Well, amongst the large countries which you reckon with, it is the fastest growing major economy, all right? Now, if you go into other challenges we face, yes, the developmental challenges we inherited are enormous, but as we go from a 4 to a 5 to a 7, $10 trillion economy, the government's ability to ensure that the benefits of development percolate down to the people who matter the most, that is enhanced. It's already there in the social inclusion and the financial inclusion and all those schemes that you're saying. Do we have political challenges? My God, if I had to list them, I would put on top the young intellectual level of the opposition party. Brilliant. I mean, when the economy is growing at 7.8% and Moody's is upgrading us, we are told we are a dead economy. I mean, if somebody outside says there can be a purpose, if somebody sitting here, I mean, I asked my colleague sitting here, how long will it take for me to get to the Taj Palace? He said, yeah, calculate kiya technology, 27 minutes. God, I wish I had not listened to him. It took 32 or 33, but whatever it is, I'm saying, you go and do a transaction in any bank here, and I do a fair amount, I do it or Lakshmi, within 2 minutes you're told so much money spent on everything, try and do it somewhere else outside the country. You'll see the levels are different. In many ways you are technology-wise, some of the things you've done, they reflect more the developments of a much more developed economy. I always get worried with people who try to take pot shots at you. Viksit Bharat banoge 2047 tak. Do you know what a Viksit country is? मैंने कहा सारी जिंदगी तो हम वही रोना रहा हमें. I know what a developing country is. I know what a least developed country is. 37 of them were categorized in the UN listing, and then there is a process from where you go to being a least developed country to a developing country. There's a process of graduation. And now, who's a developed country? There's a one city-state I'm very fond of. Their per capita income is much higher than that of most developed countries. They call themselves a developing country. The world's second largest economy is technically a developing country with a $20 trillion GDP. Navika ji, I make a single point to you. I don't need to be a $20 trillion economy for my citizens or our brothers and sisters to have the comfort it's required. You've got many advantages. Your mean age is what, 29? You've got demographic advantages. If you can get your education and skilling right, if you can weather crises in the health sector, I think you are doing well. Should I be worried? I am worried about many things. I'm worried most of all about people who don't just have deficiency and understanding, but who make a profession out of creating false narratives. Other than that, I think we're doing well. And then, by the way, press also plays a role sometimes.
Sometimes. I'm glad you remembered us. I thought it was all between you and the certain people who are creating some narratives. So since we have the elephant in the room, then let's just name him and let's just talk about that. Mr. Rahul Gandhi.
What about, I never named him.
You said understanding kam hai, narrative galat hai.
तो कई लोग कर रहे हैं, but कई लोग कर रहे हैं, but you want to take Rahul Gandhi, let's take Rahul Gandhi, okay.
Okay, so I want to ask you, you've just dismissed his charge that this is a dead economy with the numbers that you stated, but it is his charge also that, you know, the negotiations with United States of America are not going very well. It is his charge also that you're being blamed, you know, for buying cheap Russian oil, which is stalling our tariff agreement with US, but it is not being passed on to the citizens of this country. Okay, all right. So, okay, that's round one.
Go ahead.
Round one. Round one response,
No, add anything you like, but let me just put something very simply to you. You can discuss situations either in terms of comparative assessments of what happened earlier and what's happening now, okay? If you look at the energy situation, for a country which has a huge requirement of energy and which is import dependent, both for imports of crude oil, cylinder gas, which is the product of a refinery, or natural gas, our import dependence is high. It has been high. We are beginning to change it. I don't want to play a political game and say if there hadn't been a period of inaction or non-action between 2006 and 16, which I call the lost decade, we would have been in a different ball game. How did they handle it earlier? Let me just tell you. Passing on, kya bol rahe hain? You look at any representative 7-year period, right from the time that the Congress government assumed responsibility. They had a problem. What they did is they floated something called oil bonds, which means if you are Punjabi speaking, and I know you are, tusi karza le lo, te thoda pota aake puktega baaj. So what was it? 1,40,000 crores. They floated bonds, which is like a debt, and then we are having to pay back 3,10,000 crores. That's one way of solving a problem. Now, And what was the state of your companies? Today, what is the situation? Today, the situation, Navika ji, is that the Prime Minister has made it clear in terms of overall policy intent that he owes a moral duty to the people in this democratic system who've elected him, which means he has to ensure there is availability at all times to come, whether there are floods. My colleagues in the OMCs will supply gas cylinders, carrying them on their shoulders. No place in the country has been short of energy anywhere. When 67 million people, correct figure, 67 million, go to the bunk every day. And on top of that, you have a situation where the prices have come down. Prices have come down where the central government has reduced the excise it levies on 2 occasions, November 21 and May 22, and one subsequently. Availability hai, affordability hai, prices niche aa rahe hain. Now you have this bunkum of usse price liya, usse nahi kiya. Arey bhai, this sector, Navika ji, earns 19% of the government's revenue. It provides 19% of the revenue. Now with that revenue earning which the government gets, states also get, the government is supplying 800 million people 3 meals of dry ration in a day. Now that's a function that you perform which started during the pandemic and which is continuing now. Now, what it is that the young, bright, several times over launched leader is suggesting that we do better, I'm always open to suggestions.
Well, he gives you one every day.
No,
if you care to listen to him.
I am listening. I'm listening. I'm soaking it in. I'm saying if there is ever an idea which merits being annotated, one is that X, Y, Z, you characterize them. That doesn't even need to be, how do you put it, dignified. You want to use AI to take a pot shot? Be careful. Uses of AI are commonplace. People will use it against you. But if there is a constructive suggestion, I would submit to you, madam, Parliament is the forum where you should come and participate in the discussions on the legislative proposals which come, in responding to the start questions that are asked, wherever we go prepared. One of my major frustrations in the last couple of years is I'm made to prepare for my start questions, high priority. When I go there, the house is adjourned because halla walla karke, they want to bring it to an end. You can't have it both ways. By the way, there is a point of view that since everything is now on camera, the constituents will catch on. And now you see what happens in the elections. See what happens in the election.
You already know the result?
I don't know.
You know the result?
No, I
Vote
don't know.
chori is true?
No, let me come to that. Now coming to that. They're having problems with the DMK in Tamil Nadu. They're having problems with the DMK in Tamil Nadu. They're having problems with the RJD in Bihar. They had problems with the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi and Punjab. Arey bhai, you were, that's where you should do the past tense. You were a party which was part of the governance structures for the last 6-7 decades. But you are no longer. Because, I'm a student of history and political science. As they say, genius lies in identifying yourself with a principle. Today, if somebody turns around and says, what do you stand for? Tell me, what do you stand for? If you ask about my leader, they'll say, ask about any one of us who is a member of the team, they will tell you what you stand for. What does the Congress party stand for today? Let me know. Caste census? हमने कहा वो भी हमने कर दिया. करवा लो caste census. हम करेंगे 28 तरीके से करेंगे. SIR? What was the response to SIR? Responses सारे देश में होना चाहिए. अरे भाई, that's exactly what I want. अब दिल्ली में करवाते तुम्हारे, फिर भाग जाओगे. ये देखो, कभी तो कह रहा है कि you are actually lucky that you have a. I know Ajay is trying to conceal this because I think he had some congresses in the session earlier. He was getting them later. So Ajay, I hope I'm not saying anything which is creating discomfort for you, no? Arey bhai, aisa hai, somebody told me you are lucky you have got an opposition like this. I mean the Congress type, the others I'm not commenting on. If you
Why?
want, I'll do that also.
Why?
Arey bhai, you asked a question on one person.
But I've asked no, you're not allowing me to ask a question. And I want to ask you the question that you've been in power now for
Power nahi hai. Power kya hoti hai?
Power hoti hai kursi?
No, no, office, we've been in office
Okay.
and on a platform of Samaj Seva, what do you want?
Okay, so, okay, you've been in government. You've been in government for 11 plus years. How long more do you want to spend blaming the Congress
We
for
are
the
not blaming
past?
them on anything.
Of course, you just did.
No, I talked about oil bonds because he said we could have done things differently. So I said the only other case I know where a global energy situation led to high prices where you did something, you floated oil bonds. Because I was answering you, I have an immense amount of respect for Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and all the others before
We
and
see it
later.
every
I never
day.
named them.
We see it every day, don't we?
I
You
never referred to them. I'm talking about the record of our 11 years. But if you point out something in my 11 years, this could have been done differently. I said one way to do it differently was the way they did it by floating oil bonds. But if they've got another constructive suggestion, come to Parliament, float a paper. But if you want to stand around with a screen there and walk around and say something, etc., nobody's able to catch it. I don't know. I watch your channel. Even there, I'm not willing to understand what atom bomb tha ya hydrogen bomb tha, where it went off, where the splinters came. I'm still trying to find out, yeah.
Well, you have all the agencies, the EDs, the CBIs.
No, I want you on the big
And
screen.
there was not just one paper, there was a full presentation
I
that was
believe
launched.
so. And the presentation was on a constituency where there was so-called problem and the Congress had won it. So the question should be, so what happened? What happened? I mean, if that is true, why is the Congress victory because of, let's leave this. It's not a stand-up comedy session today, you know.
Are you saying that Mr. Rahul Gandhi, when he raises issues, it is a stand-up comedy show?
I didn't say it. I didn't want to.
You just did?
No, he said he's dressed in a casual shirt. I mean, some of
What's
this
wrong?
audience
Young
is
people do.
lovely and chappals or sneakers, and it's a young, robust, vibrant look. Yes, very good.
Okay. Okay. Let me just take a sense from the audience. Do you want to go more down this path, or do you want to know about energy security and when
Energy security, all of them.
Come on. A mix of both. Okay, then let's talk about a
I
little
don't know,
bit.
mix of both. I thought I came here for energy situation.
Mix of both. If you say hydrogen bomb वहाँ नहीं चला था, यहाँ petroleum है, यहाँ आग लग सकती है. So I'll first ask you. When you first became minister, I remember a conversation where you said you spend a lot of time substituting, fuels, fossil fuels that we were doing. If anything, in the last 11 years, the import of and the dependence on fossil fuels has only grown. How do we address this issue?
Yes and no. You see, if your economy is growing at, let's say, 6.5 to 7%, and your energy consumption, the rate of growth is 3 times the global average, and you have a situation where the International Energy Agency says that in the next 2 decades, next 20 years, 25% of the global increase in demand for energy is going to come from India, then you can have a situation where imports are growing up, but your consumption is going so much faster, but E&P is also going up. We have 72 discoveries which have been reported to the Director General of Hydrocarbons. But Navika ji, and something more serious than that, which I must share with you, that today we are in the happy situation where the legislative framework changes have been revolutionized. We have a total of 3.5 million square kilometers of sedimentary basin. 1 million of that was what is called a no-go area, because sometimes DRDO said we have to fire launches from here. Somebody said this is Coast Guard. We freed it all up. 80% of the bids in OALP, round 9 is it, came in that 1 million square kilometers. And I'm sure that 100% of the bids for OALP 10, which is the ongoing one, will come in that 1 million square kilometer. Today we've got a legislation which revises a 1948 omnibus piece of legislation which dealt with mining, coal and other mine. It was common. We changed all that. We've got a landmark bill which was passed through the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, which actually will make it very difficult for the government, even if it wants to impose a windfall tax or the kind of levies which we did when there was, as somebody told me today, it was not a windfall, it was a tornado, because, you know, profits just jumped through the sky and governments get tempted. We won't be able to do it again. So we've done a lot of those things. I am confident. Now again, I come to an area. Let me take you to an area which this audience will appreciate. My view is that, unlike that stupid guy, that overzealous economist who in Shell, who in the year 1976 made a prediction that oil will peak by the year 2000. Big mistake, got it wrong. A lot of people made bad decisions on that basis. But at the end of the day, if you would ask a young, bright economist or researcher, or anybody sitting in the audience, by when do you think oil will peak now? Nobody will stick their necks out. They will not say 2030, 2040, or 2050. This traditional energy will remain, but there are fascinating things happening outside. Let me take you to green hydrogen. To me, that is the fuel of the future. Why? Because all it takes to make green hydrogen is production of clean solar energy at a low cost, and we've demonstrated, we brought the price down from 25 cents a megawatt to what, 3 cents a megawatt, and you need an electrolyzer. Now, earlier they said, the previous Energy Secretary of the US talking to me in one of my first meetings said, Minister, we need 1 for 1 in 10 years. That is 1 kilo of green hydrogen to be made for $1, and we have to achieve it in 10 years. When I checked around lately, the price of the most reasonably priced green hydrogen, which somebody had demonstrated, was some part where Navdeep comes from, or where he was, Australia. They were making it for $5.50. Then somebody else said, just now IOCL floated a tender, which was won by L&T. He's brought it below $4. And after that, HPCL has floated a tender, which somebody in the Middle East has brought down. It's run about $3.28 for a kilo of green hydrogen. Wait a minute. If it comes below 3 to 250, yeah, you're spending $150 billion a year on import of energy. All that will go. People will say, isko chodo, let us now, because all that green hydrogen run bus produces is water vapor in the air. There will be a major shift. Plus, you look at biofuels. You've gone from 1.4% to 20%. Then you compress biogas. You've got now, 100 plants working, another 100. So, Navika, we are making progress in some ways in a revolutionary way. But the energy situation, since it says securing India's energy future amidst global geopolitical conflict, thodi si galti ho gayi. Our energy future is being secured. It's not just something we need to secure. On an ongoing basis, our E&P will go up, our fossil fuel dependence will come down. If I do 20% blending of biofuel, using 20% less, which means I saved 1,40,000 crores on imports, and I gave my farmers 1,10,000 crores, which means your Andata is becoming an Urza Data, and he's being compensated by the energy market. So India is very special. I tell you another thing I am very confident of. If the European Union goes in for a 5% blending of sustainable aviation fuel, India will be the place. IOCL just got a clearance from Corsair and someone else to make it from what? Used cooking oil, exactly. So there are revolutionary things happening. PM just inaugurated a refinery in Numaligarh making ethanol from bamboo. So I think that title, Securing India, India's future is being secured through multiple levels of action which are in play.
Are you doing your bit by making the opposition stay out of power to secure India further in the coming years?
The
and
opposition
how
will-
many years do you think you will continue to be the government, the power at the center? 2047,
let's be-
2047.
No, 2047, dekho, aisa hai, that's an aspirational goal by which we'll be a developed country. But let's take something. Normally, after every 5 years, people say, when you come for re-election, are bhai, anti-incumbency hai. But today, you have a government which stands on the record of its delivery to all sections of society, social sector, elsewhere, etc. So we are in the third term. We need to keep that momentum up. And I think that is what is going to be the name of the game as we go forward in the next few years. We need to get organizational changes. Obviously, other things will happen. If the opposition remains like this, you see, ultimately, when does change take place? Either that the forces confronting those in office, they have a plan or they have something like that. They've got to come up with issues. At this rate, certainly 2029, I don't see any change in the governance listing. Beyond that,
this is a dead giveaway. You just said Bihar is coming your way. You just said 2029 you are winning.
You're putting words in my mouth. I said
substantiating the charges of the opposition, which says you own the system.
I said one particular party which takes great pride in helping us get our freedom and which for several decades was in power, they're having difficulty. They first had with the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi election and Punjab election, and the Aam Aadmi Party came into Punjab. I want to go into that. They're having difficulties in Tamil Nadu because with the DMK, for a variety of reasons, somebody is warming up to actor Vijay and so on. I won't get into that. And they're having difficulty on seat distribution in Bihar. I read a statement by an equally young and bright leader of another party in Bihar who said, "Hum to sari kitni 230 seat hai, kitni hum sari ladenge khud."
243.
243 was अगर 230 लड़ते हैं 243 लड़ते हैं, I don't know. So I'm saying, if you can ensure in your lifetime that from a ruling party which was in office for 10 years between 2004 and 14, you become a junior partner in every state, you deserve a prize for that also. And they succeeded in doing it.
But I would want to ask you, you said pro-incumbency. Yes, you won 3 elections, on a trot, and the Prime Minister continues to be the most popular leader. But there are issues that are still needing attention.
I agree with you, and we have to step up.
Urban planning, every city worth its name, 2 rains and it comes to a standstill. Traffic issues that exist, infrastructure issues that exist.
I totally agree with you.
The fury of floods and the landslides and the way we've lost, humankind in these tragedies. Do you think these are areas that deserve more attention in policy making?
Navika, you have, as usual, you've hit the nail right on the head. I had the privilege of being Housing and Urban Affairs Minister for 7 years. I can tell you some basic facts. Because land is a state subject, there's a limited stuff that the central government can do, but I'm not trying to absolve myself of responsibility. I'm no longer the minister, not for the last year and a half. The waste reprocessing capacity in 2014 was 14%. What happens is, why does urban flooding take place? One reason is, you're running a commercial establishment like a restaurant, you do sabzi wabzi kati, wo kata, wo kachara, you throw it outside in the drain, block the drain, and rest goes. So, waste reprocessing in 2014 was 14%. When I ceased to be a minister, we had already taken it up to 80%, and we got plans to do it 100%. But in India, you've got to do something more. Your waste reprocessing capacity has to be more than 100% because you're growing at such a pace. Your cities are coming back. You see, you go on the roads, you go on the air, air traffic, train. There's economic activity which will produce more. So you build in future. You can't build an airport, then hope this will be enough because by the time you build it, traffic has grown. Now, Delhi had, when I went on my first posting to Tokyo, and I flew from what was then called Palam Airport, which is now Indira Gandhi International Airport. What was the capacity then? 3 million or something? I hope I get my figures correct. Today, what is happening? Today, Delhi Airport is saturated with landing slots. Jewar Airport is coming up in October or December. And after 45 days, the first flights will start. Navika ji, the combined capacity of Delhi and Jewar is going to be more than London, Heathrow, Gatwick, and Stansted put together, which means this is the urban phenomena. I agree with you. Our problem is that our span of attention is short. When the rains come and there's clogging in urban areas, we call, shout, and our common friend Suhail makes a song and dance, which I appreciate. But the fact is, after it's over, we forget about it. No, it has to be done. Where does the responsibility lie? With the state government. If somebody is allowed illegal construction to take place, remove it and ensure that there's what is called, when you remove, it's called
Dredging.
Dredging. That their budget, you've got a budget for dredging, use it. Why does the problem take place? Because the rivers have not been dredged. Kanpur had a problem in Uttar Pradesh, and I can tell you because the tanneries used to throw all their effluents there. The river had a different color altogether. And we stepped in. The state government stepped in. You put a stop to that effluent coming into the river, and today the water is clean. You can drink it. So it can be done, but I agree with you. Let us focus on it and let us ensure that going forward, the urban space gets the attention, which the Prime Minister gives it the highest importance. But everybody should be part of it. I keep coming back. The most important of our scheme is the Swachhta scheme. When the Prime Minister first announced it from the ramparts of the Red Fort, 15th August 2014, everybody said, "Ye kya baat hai bhai? Safai ki baat kar rahe hain." Because they're so used to discussions on Pakistan and others from these platforms. But if you look at it, that's the fulcrum. That's the basis on which all your other schemes are built. And today, again, it's being reiterated, and you come back to the same urban issues. It'll take time. I wrote an article, I think in the Hindustan Times, it appeared on the 15th. But I make that point that whilst we come a long way, we have a long way to go, and I agree with you.
Well, I don't know what's stopping you from improving cities in, let's say, next door Haryana. You've been in power there. Delhi, now you will have nobody else to blame. You won the elections here. And winters are around the corner. Air pollution was always Kejriwal's problem in the past. Now it's going to be yours. I don't envy you, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri.
The one, you mean the one coming from Punjab is going to be ours? No, we'll choke on it, but no, okay. I got
Well, whatever. You'll have to
by the
give
way, the Supreme Court suggested that people should be, punitive action should be taken
against farmers.
Not against farmers, those who are burning the parali. By the way, we set up a ethanol manufacturing plant in Panipat using only parali or agricultural waste.
Well, we will wait.
We need more of them, yeah.
November is around the corner, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, and there are many hands that are waiting to be raised in the audience, and they have questions. So let's begin with the audience round of questions. Yes, the gentleman right in front of me. Identify yourself and a short, brief question.
Thank you, Mr. Puri, for an insightful talk. Myself is Atharo Mamunkar from PRS. Minister Puri, the nationwide E20 fuel rollout recently has raised concern about fuel efficiency in the current vehicles as well as damage to the engines. Later on, the insurance companies are refusing the claims regarding the same. So how the ministry is
thank you very much for asking this question. My day would have been incomplete if you hadn't asked. I want to give you a categorical assurance. E20 fuel is totally safe. Totally safe. The position has been clarified by the automobile manufacturers. It has been looked at by SIAM, which is the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, by the car manufacturers. Each one of them have given certificate. Occasionally, I get a good journalistic friend who writes an article. I interviewed, I won't take the name of the gentleman, an automobile engineer who said over the last 5 years, the performance, the efficiency of his car has gone down by 2%, 3%, and so on. Arey bhai, kaun si gaadi hai, model bata do. Or 2-3%, if you've got any car and you're driving between Delhi and Gurugram, on that day check how much time your engine was idling on the red light, or when even there's green light and it's not moving. That would happen to me coming here. So let's be serious about it. Look, my friend, thank you for asking the question. We had a target of E20 by 2030. We've done it. Okay. Our agricultural sector, we have going to review the situation. The problem started, somebody said we are going now to E30 or E27, etc. Look, we will take all the stakeholders, decide. Just now, there is no problem with any engine. If anybody comes and says, here are 4, bring them. One guy puts a thing on there. Dekho, what is coming out? Arey bhai, we looked at this pump. There was a heavy flood. The water went into it. What was coming out? was not a fuel problem. There was an ingress of water. One chief minister found at mere convoy, we looked at what time his convoy was filled, let's say 28 minutes past 3. Till 27 minutes past 3, everything was okay. Then there was a heavy downpour and water got into it. So please rest assured, thank you for asking this question. If I can buy you coffee later, let me know, because this is the kind of question I like.
No,
Navika will just grill me and have fun.
No, but because you avoided a very important part of his question. If insurance companies are
No, I'm
not
coming.
honoring
No issue. When I give you categorical one, if anybody has a problem, you come to us, yeah. That's why I said categorically, everyone involved has said no issue.
Okay, where can they mail their problems? Maybe after the show, Ajay Ajay Khanna ji will give that email ID. Any more questions from the audience?
Oh,
the lady in front. As I have already said, stated policy is I'm very partial to women.
Vinita here, sir. I've been the past president of PAFI and worked with both telecom industry and Apollo Healthcare Systems, and now I'm on board a few companies where the biggest question that we are faced every day is this, and I would love your advice on this.
Your problem?
The question I'm going to ask now. The question is, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for India's tech startups in energy, green energy, hydrogen? And sir, ek cheez aur isme, as PAFI, we are working with all these companies. So, you know, how can we, this is to Navika's question, then how can these startups who are working in this area integrate, say, with smart city projects to make our urban areas more climate resilient?
Two things I want to tell you. One, if you look at the overall global picture, 500 of the Fortune 500 companies, 50% of them have global capability centers in India. They are employing 1.9 million educated, state-of-the-art engineers, etc., because they're producing technology, innovation for the rest of the world. We do something called an India Energy Week, which is not just an energy platform like petroleum and natural gas, which all factor. One of the main segments there are startups. What I see in terms of work being done by the startups is huge. And something which was missing earlier was the support coming from the ecosystem for the startups. That's been rectified. I asked my oil marketing companies, I said, how much money can you put into support from the startup? They came up, what was the figure, Rasal? 1,000 crores. I said, can you multiply it? He said, done. So today, if you have a good idea and you have a startup, there is no shortage of funds. The startups in the energy sector, and you're asking this question because we are discussing the energy sector here. You know, I am so gratified to see young guys. There was a chap with a startup which is a Sri Lankan origin person who came to me. They made an electrolyzer. And an electrolyzer is the heart of the green hydrogen issue. I went to I think it is IEW2 in Goa, and I took the Honorable Prime Minister to the BPCL stall. They had an electrolyzer made in collaboration with BARC, and I checked, and it's a brilliant idea. You know, if you are having a submerged platform, which is a submarine, you need to break the thing into oxygen and just to breathe. So they've done it, they are utilizing it, etc. So the work that is being done, I spend a lot of time when I can to talk to young investors, to talk to startups. Please ask how many of these startups have become unicorns. That figure is mind-boggling. I mean, the number of unicorns, and you know what a unicorn is, come from nowhere to, what, 100 and, how many? 130 unicorns. These are all bright startups, youngsters. No, you name the field, the startups are there. And I personally believe the best is still to come. This is just the beginning of a process. As you go into newer technologies, you know that it's all going to be done.
Well, do we have time for another? One last question in the audience.
There's somebody there.
Somebody at the back. Yeah. Okay.
Please identify yourself
Good evening, sir. I am Aditi Verma. I work with a member of parliament. My question is related to India's crude oil dependency, and given the fact that how India's dependence on crude oil imports has been increasing, especially with the volatile geopolitical situation that is going ahead right now, especially in terms of Russian crude import. How do you see that we're going ahead from here? Thank you.
No, since you you said with a member of parliament, research work or, yeah?
This is legislative research, so yes.
Legislative research.
Yes.
No, I'm aware of that and they do very good work. Look, it's very simple. You've got a situation where your demand for oil or for energy is 3 times the global average because you're growing so much faster than most people. And then if you have a young population, if you have a, your base levels were low, therefore you're growing faster, you need more energy. Now, what have we done? We've done 4 or 5 things. One, we've diversified the sources of supply. We have gone from 27 countries from which we used to import to 40 countries from which we import. We have altered the feed. What we've done is, we used to earlier be dependent only on crude oil and cylinder gas, which is again made from crude oil in a refinery. We've diversified that. Even cylinder gas we used to import largely from one particular country. We've now diversified the supply there. If you are blending 20% biofuels, it means you're using 20% less fossil fuel, all right? That shows you something. Then you're going into green hydrogen, you're going into a whole area of this thing. Why do you buy from one source and not another? It's the same thing as the feed. When we started the biofuels program, it was all, because I served in Brazil, and Brazil has the world's, they have 22% of the world's freshwater reserves. They are, 3 times our land area, 1/6 our population. So, Brazil is one of those gifted, well-endowed countries. They can afford to make it out of sugar because there's no shortage of water there. The United States makes it out of maize. What were we doing? We don't have that luxury, so we made it out of C-heavy molasses, which means you take the sugar cane, you've taken all the sugar juice out, you've nichoroded it for everything else, then whatever that brown stuff is there, you make a little bit of that. But you're also making it from broken food grain. Today you're making 38% of your biofuels from maize, from corn, makkah. Similarly, it goes up, but it's a situation which is going up and down. Yes, some areas, traditionally, we were importing, our daily imports were 5 million barrels. It has gone up to 5.6 million. 800,000 used to come from 5 suppliers in the Middle East, say 800,000 each from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Iraq, etc. Then the global situation changed, prices changed, somebody put production cuts, some people are angry. Look, we are absolutely neutral on where we import from. As I said, the Prime Minister has a duty to his electorate, to his citizens. We procure from wherever we get it, and some sources of supply have become more efficient and more cost-effective than others. But it's not a situation which will remain static or, predictable. We'll see how the world goes and we will adjust accordingly.
Yes, everything in the world is dynamic. Well, okay, last question to you, the young gentleman here. Oh, you'd fixed the mic pretty much.
Yeah.
Please, yeah.
Good evening. So, since
Identify yourself,
yeah,
please.
I'm Naveen. I'm a scholar at ISPP. So, my question is, since we are talking about future of energy in India, it would be incomplete without the nuclear sector coming in.
Without the?
Nuclear sector
Oh,
coming
100%. You're 100% right.
So, you being in Petroleum Minister, how do you see that sector evolving, and how would the energy mix be like in the coming future? And when are nuclear reforms coming that were mentioned by FM?
It's always easier to answer questions on somebody else's portfolio, but I'll try. It's okay. No, look, it's like this. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you very much. Look, we accepted net zero by 2070, if I remember correctly. Now, I'm very clear, and I think my boss has said that on many occasions. You will not get to net zero by 2070 unless the nuclear small modular reactors, what do you call them, Navdeep, small modular reactors are also part of the play. So that there is a lot of private sector. Look, we've been down that road earlier. We actually signed an India-specific safeguards agreement with the IAEA. We had a civilian nuclear energy deal with the United States. We did something with that Australia group on chemical exports. We've not tried that. It didn't work out. Not because we were not wanting. There were some issues. There are some accidents which took place and people took a backseat. And also, I think something else happened, which is very clear. There was some discussion. Today, I think whenever the negotiations take place on small modular reactors, etc., India is in that quest for energy. We buy from wherever. By the way, some of you may not know, I means India buys $15 billion worth of energy from the United States. If small modular reactors have to go, where will they come from? You know where they will come from. Where will the technology come from? There are only a handful of countries who are capable of doing a collaboration agreement with you. So thank you for asking the question, and now actually
you're running out of time.
In
the next 2 decades, 25% of the world's incremental energy demand growth will come from India.
That's the IAEA, by the way. Yeah, totally right.
And that shows that India is going to be growing very fast. So Ajay Khanna,
I'm not saying it. If I say it, they'll say, "Yaar, fir wo, what is that young leader's name?" He will say, they're producing a narrative. Arey bhai, I'm not saying it. That's why I said IEA. International Energy Agency, which is based in Paris and which has a professional staff which looks at the global economy in terms of what other countries are doing. And it said, dekho, agle 20 saal mein, whatever increase comes, 25% of that incremental this thing is going to come from India. So somebody else's assessment. And it'll come from India only if the economy is doing well. By the way, if you want to ever look at an economy and decide whether it's doing well or not, just ask them about their energy consumption. You can have a very large economy, but if the energy consumption, and I'm not mean one kind or the other, overall, energy consumption is a reasonably good indicator, a very good indicator of economic activity. And if economic activity and energy there's a coefficient there, you can make out, and this is an agency, that's what I said. You can look at anyone. By the way, IAEA we mentioned because they've been upfront about it. But even if you look at OPEC plus, etc., they say that India is a growth market. I mean, China was for a long time. China still consumes a lot. But I think China has reached a situation where, I wouldn't say saturated, but it is now doing several other things. For instance, its electric vehicles program, the electric vehicles on the streets, they are coming from the thermal route. Now, if you're looking at energy per se, India is in uniquely positioned to try and convert these challenges into opportunities, and I think we're doing it.
Over to you.
So, full of energy, the session. And I know the minister is running late. But somebody who's done 50 years of public service. He joined the Foreign Service in 1974. And since 2 of my colleagues on the dais gave their history of his relationship with the minister, so mine goes 40 years, So I first met Minister Puri in the South Block. I think that time he was handling various things. Then we met again when he was Joint Secretary of Americas. And he's done, over the last 50 years, the kind of work which is unbelievable, and we miss him in some of the places which he's vacated. We did a lot of work together, Minister, if you remember, as ambassador in Brazil. We were there for a business event. And what I like most, what you said is, power kya hota hai? That's the word which explains to you that this is a minister, and Ambassador Suri is sitting here, and we were chatting about it. You send him a WhatsApp, and then you start counting backwards, and you get a reply in maybe 5 minutes. So that's the minister for you. Thank you so much, Minister Puri.
Thank you very much.
And in the book which I'm going to present to him, he's probably one of the only ministers in the book. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We are going to start the next session. I promise you this is the last session. The Secretary Meity is waiting. Then we'll have dinner and music. Thank you.